All right, we're back at it again with the HQ wrap. Great to be back here. Great to be back here with my amazing co-host Brian. How's your day been?
All right. No, we should tell people watch HQ. Tell them about the Masters.
Yeah, it was unbelievable final round. Great to see Hideki Matsuyama make history, first Asian-born golfer to win the Masters tournament. He ended up just clinching it by one shot, but it was he had nerves of steel, and he did well to keep a few big names at bay. So I think it was a solid effort, and it was a well-deserved victory.
Absolutely. And it's already tomorrow in Japan. It's probably one of the biggest days in Japanese history.
Oh yeah, and I think with Naomi Osaka winning the Australian Open, it's a great time for Japan in the sporting side of things.
Right. And what do you want HQ to know on Tuesday night?
There has to be a Masters quiz on Tuesday. I mean, it'll be very fitting considering the tournament ended today, and there's a lot of interesting facts in that tournament, rolling back the years, and I think it would be amazing to include that and that deserves its own quiz.
Right. So let Jeff Eisenband and all the producers know. Masters.
Exactly.
Okay.
Definitely. So now let's get into the meat of the matter. Let's do the roundup of the HQ quizzes. Let's actually start with yesterday's quiz, and right backstage we have one of the winners from yesterday, Chi of Steel, Chi Han. So let's bring him in.
Yeah.
Hi, Chi. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, gentlemen, for having me.
So first of all, fantastic job yesterday. Great win. What was your approach like? Like, what do you feel? Was there a lot of stuff you knew, or did you have to rely on teammates a lot? How was it?
You know, comparing yesterday's game to today's game, today's was really difficult. Yesterday, I found I got into a flow. There were a couple of questions where I kind of switched at the last moment. I typically don't do that because in the past I haven't had positive results. But no, I found that a lot of the questions were at least you can deduce them. You know, I didn't know them outright, but I was at least able to eliminate one. But tonight's game, it was really layered. And you know, the Rihanna question, for example, I kind of knew the lyrics. I had no idea what they meant. I was already out by that point, but yeah, it was a but you know what's funny? The prize amount was almost identical, right? Like $11. But it just the level of difficulty seemed to be much more so tonight.
And you know, if I were to go back, if I were to compare today's quiz with yesterday's quiz, today's quiz actually had some more players heading into Q12 compared to yesterday's quiz, and the last question was pretty hard. Like, even though I was out, I was able to look up part of it, and I was able to eliminate one option. I think it was choice A. I forget what it was, but it left B and C. And then right after the question was done, I was able to look up what the other two were, and I was able to figure it out, but I was already up. So this was kind of the perfect question 12. You've made it this far, and you got to earn your win.
Yeah, and you know, with these types of questions, I remember thinking early on in tonight's game that I really love how HQ returned to its roots over the past at least a month or two, where you know the first three questions are almost gimmies. You don't have to really think about it. There's one obvious answer, or at least two that weren't obvious, and then you can just sort of coast by. I know there was a period where they just threw savage questions at Q1 or Q2, and it really shakes you up because you're not really mentally prepared for that, right? And then so then I was thinking we're just going to coast to all these Q5 or Q6 when they'll ramp it up, but no, they got me at I think 4 and 6, and I was gone.
Was that the Tinder question?
It's a stern reminder that you can't take anything for granted. But actually, Brian, we were discussing how the last 4 quizzes before yesterday were pretty underwhelming, and now we're hit with 2 pretty hard quizzes.
Yeah,
I mean,
we should be careful what we wish for. Yeah.
Because you might get it.
Things are too easy, and we're tired of winning 82 cents, and it must have hurt us.
All right, so Actually, let's review a few of the
one
questions.
that I got, Tinder question.
Yes.
Oh,
It wasn't
Tinder
vaccination.
question?
It was
Yeah.
criminal.
They don't want any criminals out there dating women.
You know, I couldn't really figure that out. And plus, hardly 2 seconds into the question, literally, it looks like all my teammates are flocking on vaccination. And considering we're in COVID time right now, it would seem like a logical answer. But you got to think outside the box, and that's what HQ does to you from time to time.
And Chi-Hung, Abai and I talk about this. It's when to look for something that's a little strange, and the obvious answer is the vaccinations, and then the correct answer is criminal background. And what Abai says, when you see like 8 or 9 people on the wrong answer on vaccinations, you think you got it right, and then they tell you it's criminal record.
It's I've talked about this to some of my other friends. It's the gravitational pull of your friends' majority, right? That even if you know the answer, you think you know it, but then everyone else goes to a different answer, you question yourself, and then you're like, okay, well, they must know something I don't. In this case, I had no idea, and I did choose vaccination, but that was the perfect trap.
Yeah. That's
and plus, another thing is you got to know when to override your teammates. Yeah. And most of the time, you'll never know when your teammates are going down the rabbit hole or when they're 100% correct. Maybe early on, you can figure out, like, the first 3 or 4 questions, yes, my teammates are correct. But beyond that, you got to use some of your intuition as well. And I think the April Fool's quiz is a perfect example of that. I think we can segue into that.
Yeah, so you won that one, Abai. I mean, that's legendary.
Yeah,
I think we can share. I'll share my screen. Actually, the April Fool's quiz is on HQ Buff.
Well, and let me jump in here. HQ Buff is down. I mean, we got to get you. Who runs the HQ Buff?
I have a compilation of the recent of the quizzes from I think April 5th till yesterday. So.
No, but if they don't,
I only have the ones that are relevant for discussion.
Right. If they don't pick up the slack, you're going to have to be the new HQ Buff.
Just a minute here. We have another caller waiting in the background.
Caller.
Are you ready to join, or maybe a couple minutes? Not ready yet. Okay. Well, let me share my screen. Let me bring up the April Fool's quiz right here.
I learned that the first satellite was the moon.
Okay, is everyone able to see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so see the first 3, like what she said, are fairly straightforward, and then you got to use your intuition. So if we go to number 4, it's the first satellite, not the first natural satellite, but the first satellite. So
how did you get that? You just thought?
So actually, well, just a moment. Michael's ready, so let's add him in.
All right.
Michael, welcome to the discussion. So we're going through the April Fool's quiz right now. So we're on question 4.
That game killed me. I missed by 1 question. If I picked up on the trick at the moon question, I would. I guessed on the De Niro question. I had no idea, but otherwise I was clean. I would have won that.
So the companion. If I were to click on why so many people picked it, I'm pretty sure Sputnik, the first Russian satellite, that translates to companion in Russian, and that led so many people to pick companion for that question.
And I'm fairly sure that was a previous question. They asked about Sputnik and what it meant, and that's what stuck in my mind.
But it just says the first satellite, and then from then on, that flicked a switch for me because I realized you've got to take every single question from here on out as literally as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Wait, Chi, how did you go on the April Fool's quiz?
I had 3 incorrect answers overall.
Which ones were they?
So the moon, I got my first X on the moon.
Okay.
We'd have to go further down. I don't recall without seeing the rest of the question. But
so we can do the chicken or egg question.
Yeah, can I comment on that one actually?
Go for it.
So Matt's explanation of dinosaur eggs existing prior to chickens makes sense. But what I learned in the past, when you're talking about the chicken or the egg proper, is that when you have two different species that sort of create a new species,
Right.
That new species emerges from an egg first.
Right.
So that's why it's always the egg that comes before the animal, or in this case, the chicken. So, I mean,
Right.
his explanation makes sense in that context of like April Fools. But
It
if
worked
you were
both
to ask,
ways.
yeah, if you were to ask the chicken or the egg, it would be the egg.
Yeah, basically, like in terms of evolution, evolution occurs because of variation, and an egg was laid by something that wasn't a chicken. But right, so
Yep.
so the egg came first.
Yeah. Well, yeah, long story short, chickens have been around for a couple of thousand years, while dinosaurs have been around since like beginning of life, pretty much. Oh yeah, number 8 was pretty annoying. I think opposite of not inflammable. That's
Yes.
oh man, this was the one where I actually messed up on.
I foreshadowed that in a tweet to one of our other HQD colleagues, and I knew that inflammable meant the same thing. I learned that from The Simpsons, but it was just the wording of it with all the negatives, and I just
double negatives. Yeah,
I couldn't grasp what they were asking, and I just panic tapped at the end, and I guessed incorrectly.
Hey, real quick, can I? So I just can I get an intro? I joined late to who's on the call. So my name is Michael. I'm on HQ. I'm MRS 12, Mrs. 12.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my initials. So I don't know. So who else is on the call?
All right, so I'm okay. I think you know me, Abai_98, and then Brian.
Brian, DLS 151.
Oh, I've seen that name. Okay.
And I'm Chi-Hung at Chi of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe we might have chatted at one point about techniques for success or something like that. Did you post a?
Yeah, I just to, I guess as an aside, early years I posted a sort of a winning tips or HQ winning strategies.
Right.
Just back in the day, the OG days with
Scott Rogowski,
Scott and Sarah and those people.
Yeah, I've been around since I guess December of 17 is when I started.
Whoa, that's like since the inception of HQ, right?
Yeah, I was about maybe a month and a half after the beginning, but I was pretty close.
Yeah, likewise.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, going back to question 8, isn't the opposite of not inflammable? That's the triple negative. I only just realized when the time had just ran out. I was on newspaper, then I was like, oh shoot, I have to change to asbestos, but I can't.
Yeah.
Then let's see, number 9, a 45th human, Grover Cleveland has been the 22nd and 24th. So really, we've had 45 different people as president, so that would make Joe Biden the correct answer.
Right.
Number 10, I had no clue. I had teammates split on A and B, and I just got lucky with De Niro. So, yeah, does anyone know an explanation to question 10?
That one actually, after the fact, I do know it was a Misery, Kathy Bates, and James Caan.
James Caan, right?
Exactly. And so James Caan's dad, and it's confusing in The Godfather, his dad is both Marlon Brando and De Niro, because De Niro plays the younger, the same character, Vito Corleone.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, that's one that if I had 2 or 3 minutes, I could figure out. Otherwise, it's just a guess.
I felt like that was an outlier question because that required, it wasn't like a trick necessarily or required some logic. You just had to think through the facts.
Right. By bring it down, what was it? It was asking who was whose dad or something. The Robert De Niro, was it? Who played
in the only Stephen? I think it was like in the only Stephen King.
Yeah. So the
adaptation that was a best. It was an Oscar nomination.
There it is.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's it. So you have to know it's Misery. You have to know that James Caan is the character in Misery, and then you have to take James Caan back to The Godfather and get Robert De Niro. So
that's like a kind of a current day Q12, but you've got to think through 2 or 3 layers.
It's like a concentric question, so to speak.
Exactly.
Then the last 2 were pretty straightforward. The tallest freestanding structure, it's the Burj Khalifa. Like there are a couple of red herrings like the Space Needle, but those still don't come anywhere close.
Yeah.
And That was pretty straightforward. And the last one
Was
was
it?
just a test of whether or not you're paying attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you weren't late to the show.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How happy were you to see that Q12, Abai?
Yeah, I was expecting like a super tough Q12, but I was like, when I saw the question, I was like, oh, thank goodness.
Yeah. I was in those cases I'm always mad because I was like I hope that Q12 is something that I would have missed if I'd been in. Of course it wasn't. I would have gotten it right. So oh well.
All right. So which quiz do you want to go to next, or which questions do you want to cover next? I'll leave it to you guys.
Or we could just discuss HQ in general.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know, whatever the panel wants to do. The interesting for me is I haven't been playing as long as the other two guys, but I remember playing. They had those ones where you'd never win. They'd be like 21 or 25 questions, and then you can go out like an 11. And I would always go out on 11 to get coins. We were playing for like $1,000. All I know is I won a little bit, but I've won more since HQ came back. Is that the case with all you guys? I've won more in the last year than I did in the entirety before that. Do you guys agree with that?
So not for me.
Okay.
So I don't know if any guys were playing about 2 years ago. There was one of those checkpoint games, and I kept saying to my wife, like, they had a formula at that point. They were sort of like, as the questions got later and later, at least at that time, the way my brain worked, I could do pretty well guessing like what was the least likely seeming answer in the latter stages. So back in June of 19, there was one of those checkpoint games where I made it to question 18 and ended up being, and that was a checkpoint question. I was the only person who guessed the correct answer. And the checkpoint prize was $1,750, and I was the only winner. And so,
congrats! Wow,
thank you. So,
did you know right away to go out?
Excellent win.
Did you know not to continue?
oh, absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
I was the only winner, and I had to go 5 more questions to
Right.
or 3 more for the
I'll
next
do
one.
it.
Yeah.
And since I was the only one, I was hoping, because you could choose when that screen pops up. It's like, take this now or keep playing. And my finger was shaking, like, don't hit the wrong button.
Yes, you have to hit yes. Okay.
So I chose to win that now. And Matt called me about 15 minutes later after the game, and we talked, and they posted it on Twitter. It was like, it's a lifetime highlight for me. So
that makes me happy. That's legendary, because I remember those games. I'm glad. I didn't know you at the time, but I'm glad you won that.
Oh, thank you.
In terms of getting paid, was it through PayPal, or did they go some other way to pay you?
Yeah, PayPal. It was a breeze. I filled out a tax form. I paid the taxes on it. I don't know if they were going to check, but I did it. But I had to fill out the proper tax form, and but yeah, sure enough, it came through in about a week, and it was no problem. It was funny. Someone else had asked me about it recently, and I looked through the question 15 game, and Eugene actually cashed out at question 15 for like $5, which I almost cashed out. I thought, no, I know I can win a big one of these times. Right. So I stayed in, and I DM'd Eugene on that. And I was like, hey, I'm actually glad you cashed out at question 15. Otherwise, we might have been splitting that.
Oh. Gee, how about you? When did you begin playing?
Yeah, I mean, roughly around the same time as Michael, probably December 2017. And, back then the questions were, I would say, easier. It was almost the same formula. It was really easy going to maybe Q5, and then you had to start thinking about it. But realize back then, there was no eraser. There were no friends answers. You just had, it was one and done, right? Well, I mean, with your extra life, of course. I never did well with the questions that went past 12. I think my highest was maybe 17. I don't know. I guess you can check that up. But I found that once they came back about a year ago and they made the friends answers a full-time thing, that was where I did get more money because I'd never won the big jackpot, but I found it more fun, more engaging, where I would actually chat after the game, and we would, like similar to what you and Brian do. It brings a little bit more, like a feeling of teamwork or camaraderie, right? And you got to really, you got to figure out who you can trust on a specific genre or a specific type of question. So like, if I see that light bulb and it's something to do with chemistry, like I know that you know the answer.
Although just real quick, my dad is one of my friends, and he's a former chemistry professor, and he gets probably 75% of the chemistry questions wrong.
Oh, wow.
No.
So I've stopped trusting him on the chemistry answers. So sorry to cut you off there.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Worries.
it's okay.
No, but the interesting the friends, the answer sharing. I was telling Abai in its infancy, they had something where you could be friends with somebody, and then they would show you the answer like afterwards. How long have they had it like now since it came back? Because that's been the game changer for me, the answer sharing.
Well, when they first implemented it, you could see the answers in real time, and they would only do it on Fridays. They called it Friends Friday.
Right.
Sometime after that, and it wasn't a regular thing. It was like once in a while, and then sometime after that, they changed it so you could only see it after the fact. You're right.
Right. Yeah.
But in its current iteration, you can see the answers in real time.
When did the current one come back? Since it's been back, or
I think so. I want to say that, and it's somewhat limiting in that you can only see the first 5 responses.
Yeah.
I know for yesterday's game, the question about which president was a senator after becoming a president. Like, I'm typically horrible at U.S. presidential questions. Like, that is a weakness of mine. And when I looked at all my friends' responses, they tapped on, was it John Quincy Adams? And
I'm still beating myself up over that one.
and I was like, I kind of had the answer staring in my face, and I'm like, okay, like I'm holding firm on this one. I know that's not the right answer, so I chose C, and I forget his name now. That's how bad I am with U.S.
All right, we have a comment here. There have been quite a few Canada questions, and I usually rely on Chi Hung. So I think that's
Nice.
So I think that's like the essence of answer share. You usually get an idea of which of your teammates are good at what, and then based on that you rely on them. But it's not always the case when it comes to whose answers appear. Like, for example, if it's something you don't know and then some other teammate picks quickly, that's going to be the first answer you see.
Yeah, that's right.
And
what about
Rest in peace, President Andrew Johnson. That's correct.
Right.
In fact, I took a bit too long to look that one up, and by that time I already saw a bunch of people on John Quincy Adams, so I ended up having to use an extra life on that one.
What about VIP? How do you guys feel about VIP?
I haven't done it yet. I would reserve VIP for, I actually wish I'd done it for Happy Gilmore. I know that movie like the back of my hand, so I should have done it. It was an easy game, and same thing with Ghostbusters and Elf. Like, although I don't think either one of them ended up filling the capacity, but I should have for Happy Gilmore. Otherwise, I'm not really much of a gambler, so generally speaking, I'm not going to do it. Just the ROI calculation is pretty poor for me.
Unless you're a buy, tell them who's the only undefeated VIP.
Well, I've only played 2 games, and my win rate's 100%.
Oh, wow,
Awesome.
But you know what? VIP, I kind of consider it like a calculated risk. Like, for example, I've been watching a lot of trivia. I've been doing a lot of quizzing over the years, and I feel I've reached a point where I can take a chance on myself, back myself to make it all the way. So I ended up waiting a bit too long, but I'm not really regretting it right now because my first 2 VIP games have both been pretty profitable. And in fact, seriously, after my first VIP win, that was I think around 78.95. It's ended 75 for the first to get a 5-pack. So when I won that first one, that was a big monkey off my back.
And you paid for it.
Yeah.
Have you gotten paid for your VIP winnings?
I got my first one back. The second one's still getting processed. That was on March 22nd. January 11th and March 22nd, 2 dates that I will never forget when it comes to HQ.
And for me, I played early on. For me, the VIP was that's heyday in September and October, and it worked out for me. I had like a few like $62 wins, a $117 win. So it paid for itself. I looked it up. I probably put in about $430 in tickets, and I made like $800 or $900 or $1,000. But what I don't like is waiting to be paid. I mean, Chi Hung, do you do the VIP?
Well, being a non-US resident, it's not even available to me. Plus, I'm an Android user, so
Well, hold on. Yeah, that's the huge thing. The HQ, no Canada, no Android, no in 4 states, and so that's why it's difficult for them to get and sometimes it goes months at a time when they don't have the VIP. I mean, it's crazy. They say play VIP and it never happens.
Right.
Also, I think VIP should be extended to Canada, and I think even maybe Australia too, because if it's the evening here, I think it's late morning, early afternoon in Australia. So they could. I mean, HQ should extend VIP, and I think it's going to happen.
But they want to. In Canada, it's considered gambling, so they can't. So that's what I joke with Abai. And sometimes I think HQ is skill, but sometimes I can see why there's a few states in Canada call it gambling, because on question 12 it's sometimes just a guess.
You know what? As we're talking about this, let me bring up the January 11th quiz. This was my first VIP win, and I think it's relevant to the discussion.
I think you're bragging here, Abai.
But it's only to prove a point. I'm going to keep this one short. Okay, but if we were to go all the way down, who directed none of the films on either of AFI's 100 Years, 100 Movies list?
Oh, I hate those types of questions.
This is an impossible question. Even if you're going to look it up, you've got to cycle through all of the 100 Years, 100 Movies list.
Oh, I got this one wrong. I made it to Q12, not VIP, but I got this one wrong.
And the answer was actually Rob Reiner. So that was a total guess because teammates are split across.
Yeah, I remember griping to everyone on Twitter about Kevin Costner and how much I hated Dance with the Wolves.
Is that what put him on the list?
I assume so. It can't be anything else, right?
Yeah, maybe Field of Dreams.
I thought it was Dance.
So we have another comment from Aaron. I'm in for VIP HQ words. Well, I'd love to see VIP happen for HQ words. I'm not entirely sure if it is going to happen, but as of late, I've been quite consistent on HQ words. How have the rest of you been going on HQ words?
I'm terrible at it. I do the New York Times crossword consistently. I can finish a Saturday, Friday pretty consistently with no problem. For some reason, the words clues don't click with me. I just can't. One of the few words games that I actually won in the past was the one that Will Shortz wrote the clues for. So there's something there. But yeah, I just don't. I try, but for some reason the clues don't resonate with me.
Chi Hong, how about you? How good do you consider yourself at HQ words?
When they had the 10 strikes, which they brought back just for the 1 week,
right?
For whatever reason, I'm decent. I would say my pass rate is at least 75%. Lately, I haven't been using the super spin. I've just been relying on the normal spin, and it is more challenging without the extra letters that you may get with the spin. Generally speaking, it's the keyboard, the in-game keyboard that I struggle with. If it were a regular keyboard, then it might be a different story. But the clues, I find that actually are quite helpful that Anna gives throughout the puzzle. It's just the last Thursday, or last Wednesday, nothing. I knew what the answer was. I just couldn't formulate what the word was. And with the non-fungible token, like I knew it was NFT, and I was like, oh, what? How do you spell? Oh, I'm out of time. It was that sort of thing. So I do enjoy that it sort of shakes things up a little bit from the trivia. And I'm glad it's once a week. And I think Anna Roisman is great doing, the hosting for HQ Words. But I'm so-so. Like, I'd say maybe I'm 50%. I'll win chances of winning a game.
Sometimes when I play HQ Words, in fact, a couple of friends invited me to a Zoom meeting so we could work together. And good. How it usually goes is if you know the answer, shout it out. Everyone's going to follow suit. even if you don't know the answer, but if you find a letter that is correct, call that out one at a time. So I've done that for a couple of games, and it's worked to good effect. So it's like every Words Wednesday from here on out, I may do the Zoom with friends.
It's great if you can have friends. I mean, I used to play with my wife, but then she found that I was too competitive. And you know what you were saying, I'm telling her, if you get a letter, or if you know a letter is not in it, just yell it out. And then she just felt too pressured, and she hated it. And she's like, I'm not playing with you anymore. So I had to go after.
It's like playing tennis with a spouse, right? They just say, don't do it.
So for the good of your marriage, you stopped playing with her. That was smart. No, but Abai knows this. I'm so good at words. I get every Wednesday off. It's my vacation night. I don't even play. And which actually is actually good. It's nice to take a night off. Abai doesn't know anything about taking a night off. He's played like every day for the last year and a half. And I tell him it's okay. Sometimes I only play like 4 or 5 times a week.
I agree.
Michael, you can go first.
Sorry. I was gonna say I kind of treat Wednesdays that way now. Like it's I join to keep the streak alive, and I expect to go out on puzzle, 2, 3, 4, 5, somewhere in that range, and then I don't look back. Like it's basically a night off for me.
One thing.
Sorry, I was quick. For me, it's a total night off. I don't even time to get a streak. I just don't play, and it feels good not to sign in. That's all my point. Go ahead, guys. I'm sorry.
One thing I think that they should add, HQ Word should add, is that they do for trivia is that they should have a heart or a life indicator, whether you have one or not. I know a popular strategy is to throw P11, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Just so you can have your full complement of strikes heading into that last puzzle.
Right.
And I was, I was getting down to maybe 2 strikes, P12, P10 or something. I had no idea if I had an extra life remaining, and there's no indication on the screen. And I couldn't remember if they actually showed you a heart if you had one. And I was contemplating, like, do I throw it? What if I don't have an extra life? I'm just, but I think I messed up, and I just I couldn't solve a puzzle, and so the choice was made for me, and luckily I did have an extra life remaining. But I think that's an area of improvement that they can do.
How many?
All right, so HQ Words. If you heard that, there's a piece of expert advice. But I think on HQ Words, if you have an Android phone, you don't get to see whether or not you do have an extra life.
Michael was asking, but from Abai, you and I know we have lots of lives. It's not an issue. So Chi Hung, you don't have a lot of lives?
Back in the day when they had, is it points or stars or whatever currency they were using with the levels,
points,
I amassed a lot, and then I purchased, but I never did the daily challenges.
Okay.
And then when they came back, eventually I just spent all my coins, and then I'm broke, and I'm sometimes playing game to game, trying to.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, because that's interesting, because that's what Abai and I talk about. For me, if I didn't have a life and I didn't have an eraser, I would never win. Or I should say never. Of all the games that I've won, I would say 5 or 10% were ones that I've got perfect. Yeah. And so Michael, how many lives do you have?
I currently have, I think, about 60 lives, and I have 60,000 coins, so I could buy a lot more lives if I need them.
Wow.
But when HQ went down last February, I bought 180 lives because I had all these coins. I thought, well, they're probably going to get rid of coins before they get rid of lives if they do come back. So I bought all these extra lives, and I burned through 100 plus over the course of the last year. In a number of wins, but I still have, but now I continue, with the streak and with the once every month trick, I keep adding. So I'm about 60, and I have whatever 60,000 coins would buy me.
Can you send just a few to Chi Hung in Canada? I mean, just send him like 10 or 15 lives.
You know what? I actually,
I'd love to send a few too.
I would. I put a suggestion out there, I think, on Twitter, like you should allow people to buy these as gifts, like for fanatics, like for Christmas I bought you 10 extra lives. People would love that.
Yeah, but that players will find a way to exploit that. So
no, true. It's very true. Yeah.
It's going to be an endless circle of circulating extra lives.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing, like the people. Oh, you got a question here.
Oh, how I did that too, though not a. Oh, I think this is referring to buying extra lives. Yeah.
Hey, it's Eugene.
Yeah, Eugene is everywhere.
Hey, Eugene.
Eugene, if you're still watching, I just threw in the StreamYard link. So if you have a few minutes to join, feel free. Okay, let's see. You guys are down to go through a few of the recent questions. Like I have a Google
Another
Doc.
thing I wanted to bring up before that, like
Sure.
the length to get paid. That's a problem in my eyes. Do you guys agree with that? That they got it a little better. I mean, they were like 2.5 months behind, and then they go crazy, which is great. And now they're 6 weeks behind. And it's good that they look over it, but sometimes you get like an extra 4 cents, and they've had your money for 2 months. Do you think the review process is good?
Well, I mean, sometimes they make adjustments and the winnings do go up, whatever process they use to weed out the cheaters. I think the concept is good. Of course, they could be doing it a little bit faster, but I mean, how many, what kind of staff do they have to sort of deal with this sort of maintenance, right, and this sort of checking?
And that's what I've heard too. I've heard like their staff of reviewers and researchers is pretty bare bones. So I appreciate the effort, but I'm not sure if they can do it faster with the number of people that are actually doing the reviewing.
I agree with that, but don't you think that hurts potential? I see tweets like people that don't play that much. Hey, where were we in April? Hey, I won in late February, or I won in early March. Where's my $2.11? And anytime you win something, people want to get it. But that is an aside. I think that's a problem that HQ has. And the other thing, I joke with Abai about this. It used to be the review would take forever, and then the last step when you finally got paid through PayPal, you could put the PayPal in, go make a sandwich, and come back in 10 or 15 minutes. It was in your PayPal. Now that's even slow. Like I put in to get paid. It was only like $20 on Friday. I'm still waiting for it. And it's not the end of the world, but it's not the best feeling knowing that it's floating out there. And I'm not as aggressive as Abai. He'll put out a tweet. Hey, HQ, I cashed out $1.17. Where is it?
Yeah, and I think players deserve to know how soon their winnings are going to come. I mean, when you hit the cash out button, sometimes I have to wait a day, maybe 2 days, as opposed to like up to an hour. It's gotten frustrating in recent times. That's the best way to put it.
But I mean, you have to consider that a lot of the other apps, they have minimum thresholds to cash out. So
True.
$10, $15, $25. So I mean, that's something they can use to sort of keep us at bay if they wanted to have less noise and less complaints.
Right.
I think it's great you can cash out 50 cents if you wanted to. I'm sure it's not worth the effort for some people, but with these sort of things, you never know when they might shut down. So for me, I make it a habit to cash out as soon as I get the.
Plus it expires right after you lose it after what 2 months or something like that. Is that right? Like once it's available,
it might be 90 days.
Maybe it's 90 days. Yeah, I think.
No, but then people get panic about that. They think it's 90 days from when they won,
right?
And then it's 90 days from when it's approved. But no, but the final thing I'll say on this, it's a small staff, but they got to have some guidelines. They'll say, hey, we're going to approve it within 2 weeks. We're going to approve it within 3 weeks. Because right now it's ambiguous. It goes fast and then it goes slow, and you really don't know when. It's not the end of the world, but it's nice to know you won something. Okay, right. I won this. I'll see that money in 3 weeks. And then that's just my piece on that. And then the cash outs, they got Abai. I'm just more patient, man. You're on them. You'll like say, what's going on, man? I just cashed out $2.11. I double checked my email. Where's my money?
Yeah, every time I cash out, I make sure I type my email correctly. I don't want to be off by one character. Otherwise, that money's all gone. And you, even if you misspell like the part before the @gmail.com or @yahoo.com or whatever, if there's someone who has that email with your the misspelled whatever, they get that money.
So, Abai, what is your what error do you normally make when you're typing your email address there, just in case someone wants to claim it?
Okay,
Nice.
I haven't messed up on typing my email address, but if I were okay, I'd most likely make a mistake like the .com. Sometimes my finger kind of slides over to the end, but I'm pretty observant when that happens, and I make sure I correct myself.
I'm like a buy. It's a lot of pressure to cash out. It's like, do I want to go through this? I mean, because I'm like a buy. It should take like 20 seconds. I'm typing each letter individually, then I'm double checking it to make sure that everything is correct. And exactly, that's what I do.
I do a screenshot and make sure.
Yeah, no, I used to do a screenshot. Now I just take them at their word. But now, as I said, I literally have nothing. You'd be going crazy a buy if they had $21. You'd be tweeting them like every hour.
I mean, okay, I'm more patient than that. Okay, okay, we had another concern in this case. One particular game in which question 12 had 2 correct answers, and I had won that game, and the initial prize was 125 because there were only 12 VIPs that won.
Oh, is that the poker game?
Poker game.
The poker game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was part of that. What was it?
Yeah,
like?
I think the answer was Wild Bill Hickok, and there was also one other answer. I can't remember who he was. Maybe Buffalo Bill Cody.
Buffalo
and
Bill.
he was on in that 4-year long poker game. So there was a lot of ambiguity there.
No, but this lady has a good question that she thought she won $125, and then when they went and gave two correct answers, it was like $30 or $33, and I was one of them. So I apologize, Marina. I took money from you that night. It wasn't my intention. It was Buffalo Bill's fault.
They did it on the slide too, so they sort of they adjusted the winnings. They tweeted that they would make changes, but I don't remember them making an announcement after the fact, or maybe they did. But
No, they definitely said that they found that there were 2 answers that two possible people could have been at that poker game. So because of that, we're gonna pay both answers, and that's what happened to this lady, where she had 125, and then I'm pretty sure it was like 33, and that's a whole other story where you wager 20 to win 33, and that's tough. But sometimes
that's a big difference. Yeah.
And then let's see, they later determined that anyone who answered both questions won that game. So they had to redistribute the VIP purse so that everyone who picked either of the 2 correct answers would be accommodated.
Yeah.
So that's.
No, it was great for me, terrible for her.
Yeah.
So if we were to have a look at the question, who did not participate in the Birdcage Theater's famous 8-year-long poker game? So I was actually I think I was in on this question. I had looked up Bat Masterson, and I was able to eliminate one option. But then, I actually picked B. I picked Buffalo Bill Cody, so I ended up losing that game.
And which one was it? Was it Masterson or Buffalo Bill? Which one could have been there?
Buffalo Bill.
Okay.
Bat Masterson definitely was there, but Buffalo Bill Cody.
No, but in fairness, I do have to give HQ credit. I mean, they're writing 12 questions every day, and that one and maybe a couple. There's only like 2 or 3 each year that are ambiguous or are wrong. I mean, think how good. I mean, you obviously you're double checking everything, but you can't be perfect. I mean, do you guys agree with that? I mean, the integrity of the game is strong.
Yeah, generally speaking, I would agree with that statement. They had a thing on I think on Twitter the other day where they were trying to give out free or extra lives if you can name the ballparks that open on a given day. They stated there were 3, and then they upped it to 5, and I only had 4, and I was trying to find that 5th one. So there weren't 5. The answer was 4, and had I submitted, maybe I would have had a chance.
Yeah. But I think then there was even, because there were like 3 that were or 4 that were exhibition games and 3 that were regular season games. There ended up being like 7 in total.
But in fairness, that wasn't from the HQ. No. That was the guy whoever runs the Twitter, and learned a lesson that it's not that easy to write a question, And
Yeah.
I always joke, I don't care because they're giving away one extra life.
Yeah.
Chi Hung, you need that life. I mean, that's just crazy.
Yeah, that extra life is worth at least 2 in Canadian lives.
Nice. Is that the conversion? So the other night though, there was one about we maybe chatted about this. The loudest animal, right? So
Right, the whale.
everything that I've seen recently, and which is why I really hesitated on that one, said that in terms of total decibels, the sperm whale produces the loudest sound, but the answer was the blue whale. So I mean, I veered away from the 2 answers that I thought were probably not right, even though I thought that the correct answer was also not right.
Was the answer not whale? It didn't specify the species.
Oh, well, so no, the answer was the largest animal on Earth holds what record? Fastest, thickest skin, or loudest?
Right, but it wasn't specifying which species of animal, right? So you could say a whale falls into multiple categories. But you're right.
Yeah, so it's actually the blue whale, which is the largest animal in the world, but the loudest animal in the world is actually the sperm whale, and those are 2 different creatures. So this was the one big discrepancy that I found, at least in recent few
But
years.
it was also the thickest skinned, I later discovered.
The sperm whale is.
Really?
Yeah, I found that too.
I did not know that.
Oh, but I saw something that did say the blue whale was the loudest.
So it's the reason I think, like, when if a quick search pulls up discrepancies, I feel like they should veer away from those sorts of questions, right?
They might want that because it creates a split,
Yes.
or as I talked to Abai about this, sometimes they might do a question, they Google it and see that a fast Google is going to lead to the wrong answer. And they love that because, no, they have to be, because that's also thing but some of the ones are too easy.
We have confirmation here. However, the thickest skinned animal is a sperm whale as well.
Right.
So there's someone who agrees, and it's and I think
Well,
right.
I may have heard from Mariana first about that, so I'll give her credit.
So this sort of sloppiness is what concerns me in the question writing, and it's a legitimate concern. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, I think if it's actually, if you don't even just do a cursory Google search, if you get it in kind of deep, there's still debate about what is the loudest. And I think most things I found ended up leaning towards being a sperm whale. So I don't know. I actually got that one right.
Yeah.
But that one bothered me a little bit.
Right. Well, then there was the mutiny on Genesis 1 and Genesis 2.
Oh, yes. Yes, I remember that game.
Oh, yeah. That's a tough one.
People were furious about that one.
That was the Easter question, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I
don't read Genesis 2. I mean, and that's the thing. I never get upset, but I mean, people really get upset on Twitter. I mean, I'm to even kill. I mean, unless HQ doesn't pay me this $21, and then I'm going to send a buy after them.
Okay. Yeah. So I actually made a note of the semi-tricky or some of the super difficult ones. So on all of these, the asterisk indicates the majority and the bold indicates the correct answer. So on yesterday's quiz, I think, this one got me out. And on this one, I had to use an eraser that took out C. And then I was able to look at A and I knew that was right. So if we were to send this around, okay, which questions do you think were the most difficult for each of you? Like in the recent quizzes. Who wants to go first?
You stumped us.
Well, the Guinness World Records one was, I thought that was difficult. You couldn't even really guess, right? Like I'm looking at the question directly underneath it with the Brosnan and McQueen and Connery. Looking at it, you can kind of see, what some of these people had in common. You might have thought the wrong thing, but at least you could make some sort of educated guess, right? So the Guinness World Records, no idea. I guessed incorrectly on that one. I think I chose longest dreadlock.
I picked the same thing too. Actually, this one was near impossible to look up because see, the retired Guinness World Records, they retire the records that either they're sure that it won't be broken in the near future, or B, it's too hard or too unsafe to break the record, so they retire that. I had a feeling it was not highest IQ because, I was pretty sure about highest IQ. So it was just kind of a toss up between C and A, and I ended up on the wrong end of the 50-50, so to speak.
Right. And for me, as I'm just too damn old. I don't know what a corn video is, so that's tough. And then anything that involves the Caribbean, and it's tricky. What does they say? It's still who is still alive? That's on Antigua.
Actually, so the peak is currently called Boggy Peak, but it was previously named Mount Obama after President Obama.
Okay, he's alive. Okay.
So so this was a geography question, but this was a question that I did not know at all. I couldn't even look that one up properly because Mount Obama isn't the first thing that'll pop up in Google when you search up highest point in Antigua.
And then I'm looking at number 10 here. So this is good for Sean Connery. He's not promiscuous, and these other guys are.
I was singing the lyrics in my head, and I couldn't remember who they were referencing.
But so Pierce Brosnan and Steve McQueen are promiscuous.
No, I think Thomas Crown was mentioned, and Pierce Brosnan and Steve McQueen played Thomas Crown.
Wow. Okay, so she singled out Thomas Crown, not the actors at least. Okay. Oh, I'd have no clue on that thing.
Yeah.
And then
you have to know. That's a great question.
That's an excellent question.
Right.
Then let's see. I threw one in a moment ago. Tiger Woods has won the least of which of the following? Is it A, the Claret Jug, B, the Green Jacket, or C, the Wanamaker Trophy?
Wow. You gave this to me, and I've already forgotten
it. Is it B?
Is it B?
Yeah.
Actually, Tiger Woods has won 5 Masters, and the Green Jacket is a Masters.
Is Wanamaker's PGA? What's PGA?
Wanamaker's PGA. He's won that 4 times, and the Claret Jug is for the Open Championship, which he has won 3 times. So the answer is A.
Oh, I was going to say A.
I already asked you that question, so it wouldn't really be fair.
Yeah.
With those types of questions, if I were unaided, no friends, I couldn't see any friends' answers, I would choose the one. I would treat it like as if it were a Q12, right? I would choose the one that either I've never heard of,
right,
or the one that would seem the most obvious. Like the reverse trap type of idea.
Yeah. Mm-hmm,
right.
mm-hmm.
And so of those 3 that you just listed, I'm only familiar with the Green Jacket, so that's the only reason I would choose that.
Yeah, me too.
Actually, sometimes I'm the opposite. Not so much on, but something where it looks like there's too obvious. I can't think. You choose the one that makes 0 sense. You sometimes get that. Another thing I'll say, I hope HQ watches this. If they need someone to write questions, Abai's your man. Are you guys aware? He asks a question a day on his Instagram. I mean, and his questions are all good.
Yeah. Well, whenever I'm free, I try to post one question a day. I haven't been able to consistently do that, but one question a day in my stories. I try to make it a nested question. Sometimes I throw in an easy one just to kind of balance things out. But yeah, those of you that follow, feel free to give it a shot. And we have here, it doesn't say would have been a better option on the Genesis 1 question. And I agree, yeah. It doesn't say, or quote unquote, not enough information.
Right.
Whatever the correct opinion, I think both at the same time or something like that isn't conclusive. And yeah, that's correct. Can't argue with that at all. April 9th, where was the Liberty Bell manufactured? I totally misread this. I thought Statue of Liberty for some reason. I'd have picked France.
Yeah, that's it. I would have done the same thing. I would have seen Liberty Bell and thought Statue of Liberty and gone France.
And then let's see, which country's Supreme Court has the most judges? Well, I already knew the U.S. had 9, so I decided to roll the dice and look up Canada, and I got 9 there too. So that was pretty straightforward to figure out. All right. The HQ Sports game last Tuesday. That game
tough.
was torture.
Yeah,
Torture.
yeah. And Michael, you're like me. Even though it's like $2,500, it's sports, so it's more important.
Exactly.
It was tough in the sense that I couldn't even hear the questions. That video was all buffering the entire time.
I can so relate to that. It was happening to me too.
Yeah, typically if I close the app and relaunch it, it fixes it, but it would fix it for the first 5-10 seconds, and then it would just happen again.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Well, number 12, that's a good one. That golf question. So I looked at it, and I knew Jordan Spieth had won the Masters. So I picked Brooks Koepka, and then I was unaware that that Brooks was in that he has not won the British Open yet, and so it's confusing. So both he and Rory haven't won the Masters, but Rory's won the British.
The other three.
But exactly, I thought, okay, Brooks has never won the Masters. I got this. I got it wrong.
Yeah, I think for that game, I was out early enough that I just cruised to get my extra life back. So I just stopped at 6 and got my life back.
Ji-Hung, do you know about that? The six where you only get 6 correct?
I took advantage of that knowledge for today's game.
Me too.
Likewise, and it's difficult. You're doing math, thinking how many more of these do I got to get correct? And then I figured out. I was out early, and then it was the 8th question. I figured out I got 5 right, and I got 3 wrong. So I got to get 1 more right, and so then you just do nothing.
And it's even tougher if you're playing kind of, under the table with the sound down. You got to read Matt's lips to see what question you're on.
And not only that, I always have my sound on because chances are Matt reads out like the first couple of words of the question before it actually appears on your screen, and that could potentially help me when it comes to Googling it.
Right.
So if I have my sound off, it becomes so much harder. I'm not saying a lot more difficult, but it's less obvious, so to speak.
Michael, you do that because you have kids, or you're hiding it from your wife, or why are you playing without sound?
Yeah, column A and column B.
Yes, that's a whole other ball game. At least Abaya and I can have like full sound, and holy smokes! Okay, yeah.
I just try not to be too disruptive around.
Well, that's the other thing. Where, Michael, where do you live?
I'm in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, so you're Eastern time zone, and Ji-Hung?
In Toronto, Canada, Eastern.
So that's also Eastern. So as you can tell, Abai and I, we're California. So yeah. You'd be screwed, Michael. You'd have to play at 6 o'clock.
I know.
6 o'clock isn't a terrible time for me, but at the same time, I think maybe like 8 p.m. or something would be a lot better.
You have to move to what, the Central Time Zone? Move to Detroit or something, or I don't know. What's in the Central Time Zone?
Maybe
Chicago.
Texas.
Chicago.
There you go. Move to Chicago.
Move in with Aaron.
Well, speaking of Aaron, HQ recently teased a possible new game that looked like Family Feud, or a game with multiple answer choices. Any speculations on what that might be? Well, it's just a guess from me. It's just a conjecture, but I think it could be something like pick the following that belong to this category. But then again, I'm not completely sure. So
but it's good because to me, it hasn't become stale. But as I said, if I miss a night, I don't care. And then it's weird. Some nights when I win 82 cents, I don't care. It's good. If I win 82 cents, it's okay. But then if I miss question 12 and it's 82 cents, I don't care. I only get upset when it's for like 2 or 3 minutes, so it's like $10 or $12. And I don't get upset if it's a guess. If it's just something I have no clue about, it rubs off my back. If it's something where wow, I should have known. There was something about, I forget what it was, like a James Cameron movie was like on, and it was like Rambo 2, and he didn't even direct it, and you had to say who starred. So it was like Stallone, Bruce Willis, and Schwarzenegger. And Sly Stallone's my favorite actor. And so I got mad. But as I said, it's not like Cameron directed it. He was the screenwriter, and that was like on Rotten Tomatoes. It's so tricky. I mean, the question 12, other than that, what color was his, his cape?
This is a ribbon.
His ribbon. I mean, it's fun. And it's good that they're going to try new modes and something maybe for next time. What I can't figure out, and we're grateful, how in the heck does HQ make money?
Yeah, that's a puzzling question.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I mean, but
they do have investors, but God knows who these investors are.
Right, but investors want to get paid, and as I said, that's why Chi Hung cashes out, because it already went belly up once, and it seems a little more solid now, but I can't for the life of me, for the last year, since they came back, they give away $5,000, the $5,000 to charity. How are they making any money? They got to keep the lights on. They got to pay people. I mean, am I the only one who thinks about things like this?
Yeah, and they used to, in their early days, they would increase the pot every time their user base, increased accordingly. But
right.
It's going the opposite direction, and the pot is still at 5,000, which is more than generous. And on top of that, they've added HQ Sports. They've a couple of weekends ago, they made the pot $10,000 for no given reason. Not that we're complaining, but it was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
Right. No, but the sports at least pays for itself. They have a sponsor, so that explains that. But as I said, I can't figure out, how they have to. I think they have a few employees. I think somebody like Matt, they pay him fairly, but he's not an employee. He's like a contractor. He comes in every night and does that, and that's also crazy. He used to travel. He was a comedian, and so now he's always in New York. So until they have the other person come in occasionally, but he works every day.
And they have question writers too. I wonder how they go about though. Do they write the 12 questions well ahead of time, or do they write it the day they're going to present it?
I'm sure they have a big pool that they pull from. Like
right.
They're constantly writing.
I talked to Eugene about that because he was back there and he was there for the run through, and that's what they do. They do a run through, and if they don't like a question, they pull it from the run through and add a different question.
Oh, okay. Oh, by the way, just curious. Are there any other trivia apps you guys play, or is it just HQ?
They all disappeared.
I mean, yeah,
I do. I do some sports apps, some prediction type, but not trivia.
Right. No. For Abai, it was about June of 19 is like when trivia died. There was something called Hype Sports. There was something called Halftime Live, which transitioned to Five Alive. And there was something called Confetti. And they all died within like a week of each other of June of 2019. And there's been, as I said, I know what Chi Hung's talking about. I'm just terrible. Like, is somebody going to hit a free throw? What's going on in the third quarter? I mean, it's stupid. I mean, and I love sports. But as I said, that Hype Sports was sports trivia every night. That was awesome. The Halftime Live, that was, they called it halftime, but sometimes they do a hockey game or a football game, and they would do questions at halftime. And then that went away, and then they did something called Five Alive, which was a prediction game, but I was able to do better at that. But no, there's really the high point of trivia was like 2019. Now it's pretty much just HQ. I mean, have you guys found any others?
Michael, we'll let you have your say as you're about to dip in a couple of minutes. So
yeah, sorry,
let's hear it.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I actually have to leave. I got an 8-month-old that's kind of taking all my time and have some things to take care of for the rest of the night here. Mm-hmm. So this has been great. Thanks for having me. To answer your question, I don't play many other apps. I've tried like Scaly World, and I find that like most of the questions to me are like a lot of them are just 50-50 guesses. Like they're so specific about like what a quote was or something. But otherwise, yeah, a lot of the things that I used to play kind of died. But I'm an addict on HQ. I've played it for the last 3.5 years, and I used to have a lot of friends who played, and basically they all just stopped. So it's fun to find people now through Twitter, through the app that that play that I can, kind of geek out about with. So this has been great. So I hope, I'd love to join again. And
sure. Mike, before you go, what's your handle? I'll look for you.
Oh, so I'm MRS12.
Okay.
That's just an old email handle.
People, they think you're a woman.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's funny if you watch. I'm on my phone running out of battery. But if you want to see that game, that big game I won, it was from June 4th of 2019.
Okay.
And when I won the game,
I'll be sure to watch it.
When I won the game, Matt said, "Mrs. 12, you go, girl."
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm glad you came all the way East Coast. Yeah. So what? I forgot. It's late. It's got to be what, 10 o'clock back there or later?
10:30.
Yeah, 10:30.
Okay. Yeah. So go get with your infant there. Yeah.
Yeah. He's asleep, but I got a bunch of dishes to do and a bunch of stuff I got to get done before bed. So.
All right. No. I'm glad you're here, Michael.
Yeah. Thanks
Pleasure
for having
to have
me.
you on board. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
I just saw something a buy. Tell Chia or Chi Hung about swag books. You're like Mr. Swag Book. You know about this?
Chi Hung, have you heard of Swag Books Live?
I collected for a very short period, many years ago. Couldn't remember my account, and I know they have this quiz thing now, but I just hated the fact that I lost my points. So I just I couldn't get back into it.
Now these quizzes have gotten so ridiculously easy. Like you make it all the way and you win like 15, 20 cents. I mean, I know it's a small payout, but then again, it's like a fun way to kill a good 15 minutes. And I try to play it like I think 3, maybe 4 days a week. Tuesdays I can't do it for obvious reasons since HQ Sports, but I try to do Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And normally I like to post like how I go and like a whole replay. You'll be able to find that.
Right.
But it's like a fun diversion.
He did, because I had played a few years ago, and I did. I remember my code, and I asked him, "Hey, Abai, what's 13.75 swag bucks?" And he says, "That's $13.75. So he said, "You should play." And I played, and I won 13 swag bucks. I said, "Abai, this is ridiculous. That's 13 cents. What the hell am I doing?" And he won't stop talking about how much fun he's having. And God love him. I mean, and so I did play long enough, because you have to have like 10 or 15. That's it. So I cashed out $10, and I'm so cheap. I had like $4, 412 swag bucks. So I had to play like another 5 or 6 times to get over 500 swag bucks so I could get that $5. And no, I love a buy, but I'll never play that thing again. It's ridiculous to play 15 minutes to win 17 cents. Come on.
Yeah. And I mean, even with HQ now, winning big is always a thrill. There's bragging rights involved. And I think I've earned close to $400 over the years of playing HQ. But even now with my winnings, they're funneled into, I became a patron. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Patreon, but I'm a patron of a couple of HQ hosts. So basically it's going right back into not the company directly, but it's supporting the people who have been involved with the show. So in terms, as long as I keep winning, they'll get paid for, doing what they do.
I don't know what you're talking about. Explain that.
Patreon, you mean?
No, I know what Patreon is, but what's going on with that in HQ?
No, it's just I use PayPal to pay for those subscriptions. And so my winnings from HQ go into my PayPal, and I use PayPal to pay for the Patreon subscriction. So
I got you. I thought you were supporting people at HQ with Patreon.
No.
I was wondering what the hell's going on. I mean, why isn't HQ paying its own people? We got Qigong paying people. That's it. You use specifically the money, whatever you're supporting on Patreon. That's not HQ. Okay. And then Abai has a convoluted scheme with his swag bucks. He claims he uses swag bucks to buy VIP tickets. That takes you forever.
Well, I ended up grinding a lot of surveys, and even that was a pretty slow source. But eventually, I had enough saved up to roll the dice.
Too much. You know this Young? He's trying to become a chemical. Is it a chemical engineer or what?
Bioengineer.
Get the heck out of it. you're making pennies on the swag bucks. You're wasting time. You know.
Are
yeah,
you
I don't
actually?
know.
Are
Yeah.
you learning new facts, or are the questions, answers you already know on the swag bucks?
Most of them are stuff that I know. You see, usually like the typical SP Live quiz, it's 10 questions, and maybe two tricky ones. But everything other than that is pretty easy. Usually, the tricky ones come like between question 4 or question 7, possibly 8. But
Right.
if you make it through the first 8, you're a sure shot winner because 9 and 10 are gimmies.
No, and also remember how like easy like the first 3 questions on HQ are. There's like 7 or 8 of those on this dang Swag Bucks Live that are even more stupid and more easy. And a buy, you love the Swag Bucks. You got to get out of there. I mean, it's I'm joking, but no, but it is interesting. And also a buy. I told them they don't care at Swag Bucks. They want everybody to win, because they want people to be excited to win 17 swag bucks, and until they find out it's 17 cents.
Yeah, it's a tiny victory. It's a tiny morale boost.
No, but going back to you're interesting, Chi-Hung. So my total is probably about $1,500, but as I said, 430 of that is what I paid in for the VIP. And so for you and buy us some VIP, but for you, you have to be in Canada. You just have to play the regular game. So sometimes you're winning 82 cents. Sometimes you're winning $1.77, $3. What's your biggest win? Like 20 or 30?
Yeah, it would probably be in the low 30s, and I think I won that maybe it was after HQ returned, so within probably the first 2 months.
Yes,
they had some big prizes.
I think I remember one big one that you won. I think I found that quiz just now. Just bring it up.
Buy's like a machine.
I don't have to take it again, do I?
Yeah, you have to answer it correctly.
I remember. I distinctly remember the final question. It was name of the process which brass rids itself of bacteria. It was called, I think, oligodynamic force, and that was actually small. Yeah. You remember that one?
So that was a 13. No, I wouldn't remember a $13 game.
He was talking $30. 30.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, it was 30 something. Yeah, no, I vaguely do remember that. Yeah.
No,
all right, I think. Yeah.
Abai does. Have you seen this, Chi-Hung? He keeps an accuracy like people don't even know. He'll say like 43 from 90, and people say, "What the hell is this?" So he has to like win a certain amount, like 45 or 50. Tell him what you're doing.
I'm doing 54 out of 120. So right now, I have 26 wins, and I need another 28 from 74. And I updated that. That's as of today's game. So I'm hoping to get more consistent and meet the goals.
I did ask Abai about that early on. I think maybe before we befriended each other in HQ, I was curious what that was referring to.
No, it's just his Indian slang. As I said, I understood it, but some people, I said, "What the hell does this even mean?" But the interesting thing about it, Abai, that's why he gets excited to win 72 cents, because for him that's a win. And I told him, Abai, it really doesn't matter, if to win.
Not all quizzes are equal.
But as I said, and then when like the last 2 days when it's tough, it's all about. Do you agree with me, Chi-Hung, that a win is a win? But who cares if you win 73 cents? It's much better to win the $12 ones, the 11. When everybody wins, I don't care.
There is a thrill to winning, regardless of the amount. And obviously, if it's a large prize, you might jump out of your seat, make a little bit of noise. But really, I think it's just having that experience of going through the process of getting, like, if I can get to Q12 and lose, I'm still happy that I had a chance, right? A game like tonight, it's a little bit frustrating to get out for me at Q6. But it's great to have a goal, even if it's somewhat arbitrary. I don't know. I mean, I think your sights are a bit high, but you did reach your goal the last time.
Right.
that you
40 out of 100, and I got super lucky there. I needed 6 from the last 10, and I lost the first 2, and then I got the next 6.
Right.
And I defied the odds there. I nearly thought when it was 6 needed for me, I thought, okay, looks like this is not going to go well.
Yeah, and I think both of us have improved in our winning percentage after we joined forces, so to speak. I had this spell where I had no lives remaining, and I won maybe 10 out of 12 games.
Well, isn't that a lovely coincidence?
Yeah, or that was when I changed my avatar to that Simpsons version of me. But
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Well,
All right. Well, it's been an amazing discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good time to wrap it up. So once again, yeah, Chi, thanks so much for coming. It was a great time talking. Yeah, and Michael, if you're still tuning in, thanks to you for making this discussion.
I'll send you a friend request, Chia or Chi Hung.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
Yeah.
Take care.
Okay, see you.
See ya.
Right.